So I just wanted to talk about so I had a new mom come in today, and here's the theme that I see over and over. So she had an order from the court. They had stipulated to neglect. I always hate that when that happens, but it wasn't as bad as some of them that I've seen. Hello, Deborah. However, there was a list of things and the infant child was placed with a friend, so at least it wasn't in a stranger's home. They were able to have ongoing contact with the children, but they had this list of things, like 15 items, and I started asking her about the items, and I said, okay, so it says here you're supposed to have a parenting assessment. Have you had a parenting assessment? This is since October is when the order went down, and she said no. I got a family over here. You're trying to wrangle a child away from me. So I said, it says here you're supposed to have a parenting assessment. Did you have that? And she said no. And I said, well, you've got to ask questions. I'm going to say this over and over and over again. Questions are your best line of defense and your best offense. Questions are your best line of defense and your best offense, because they just hand parents and people these things in the courtroom or part of the process. And then people don't ask enough questions. So I said, you need to ask the questions. You need to say, hello, Renee. You need to say that I don't understand this. How's this going to work? What is it going to take to complete it? Because I want to complete everything on here. Because I want this little baby to go home to mommy and daddy. So I said, this is the first part of your plan. Your plan is to go through this list. You're going to ask questions, and then I ask about their CFTM meeting. Hey, Kenneth. Hey, Christine. Hey, Teresa. You're going to ask about the CFTM. You're going to ask for the written plan so that you have it in your hand. And you are... Yeah, sorry about that. And you are... going to keep a record of it, and so that when you get ready to file your petition for reunification, you're going to have that all done and have pictures of your child, have videos of your child showing the relationship with your child. So you're going to get all that done. But stage number one is to go through that list. The other issue that was brought up was about Anouk, get out of the way, please. Sorry, grandchildren. So the other thing that was brought up was that there was supervised visitation, and the supervisor would be late sometimes. And so I said, well, and then there was a dispute at the end of the visitation as to whether or not they should get additional time. And I said, here's the deal. You need to address that on the front end. So the front end, if somebody's going to be late, you just have an adult conversation with them, and you say, okay, so we're starting 20 minutes late here. So can you tell me what that's going to look like at the end of, let's say your visitation was supposed to start at 2. And, you only get 2 hours. These parents are so restricted and it's so horrible. Let's say you get 2 hours and they don't show up till 2:20. And you say, okay, it's 2:20. So what's going to happen at 4 o'clock? Because I'd like to address it now rather than wait till 4 o'clock and have a dispute or an argument about it. So you just ask it up front. Don't apologize. Yeah, they're being... Oh, Gordon, thank you. Well, they do like to butt their little faces into when I'm talking. But I love them, so that's okay. So that is stage one. Questions. Ask the questions. The other thing we talked about was policy. And so we sat down right away and we identified 2 policies in Indiana Department of Children's Services. And those 2 policies had to do with the meetings that they have and then the permanency plans. Because I asked, have you ever received a written permanency plan? And she said no. And so, attorneys don't even do it. This whole big, huge secret thing, it's so juvenile and it's so immature. You have a right to have records. You have a right to have perm plans. You have a right to document. I talked about documenting. There's a couple things, easy things to do now. Our technology is so awesome that you've got to learn to use your technology well. So, for instance, when you have a supervised visitation, right? If you have an iPhone or if you have an Android, as soon as you get out of there, you start making notes, and you use your notes function on your iPhone or your Android, and you say, okay, it is April the 20th, 2021. This is Connie, and I just came out of a supervised visitation with my baby, and here's how I felt like it went. And then you ask the supervised visitation person the same thing. At the close of the supervised visitation, you ask them that question. You say, so how do you think it went? You know, I'm really enjoying my time. Is there anything additional you think I should do? Should I be bringing anything else with me? And you record that, record, because the truth will set you free. The truth will set you free. So just you know, start. And you know, this is it's an odd setting. It's a normal setting for them. This is what they do all the time. It's an odd setting for parents. So you've got to normalize it for yourself. And that means question everything. All right, so we also talked about ADA, which is Americans with Disabilities Act. If you're not familiar with it, you can Google, go to 2015 ADA Massachusetts, no, go to Google 2015 ADA Technical Assistance, Child Welfare, and you should find the technical assistance guide that was put out for parents and families with disabilities, because you have a right to ask for accommodations. And so you say, I have a disability, I want ADA accommodations. And they're going to say, what kind of accommodations do you need? And you say, well, here, first thing you do is you say, well, here's my disability. Here's how it affects me. And first of all, you tell me what kind of accommodations you can give me. And if they go, well, we don't know what you need, then you can ask for anything, right? You can ask for it. So in this particular case, we were talking about a parent who had depression and anxiety, and they had a diagnosis for it. I said, okay, so you ask for ADA accommodations. And what does that look like? You say, okay, well, I get, you know, or you can talk for your spouse, and because you can be an ADA advocate for your spouse. So you can say, well, my spouse is going to have anxiety. They need non-confrontational meetings, number one. They need to have, if there's a choice or something that needs to be done, they need to have a selection of alternative responses that would be appropriate, because if they feel confronted, they may just react to the situation and not feel like they can generate an appropriate response in the time that's required. So whenever they're confronted with somewhere where they have to make a decision, we need to talk to them about what their appropriate responses would be. Okay, so whatever, you just have to think about what your disability is, and you need to articulate what kind of adjustments that you need or what accommodations that you need, and they have to do it. And you need to document it, and you need to write it down. So there's a couple good ways for documenting. Of course, everybody now has voice to text in your notes and your whatever, whether you're using Word or an iPhone or your notes or whatever, everybody has voice to text. But if that's not good enough, or like you want to record a conversation, there's a couple of great websites. One of them is called rev.com, and the other one's otter.ai. And they both are artificial intelligence for transcribing conversations. And they will put, and I like rev.com because you can put in there like the names of speakers, and you can identify them. So you can say like Connie, second female speaker. You can say Judge John, male speaker, and they will put those names in there for you. So you always do have to check, because it is AI, or who knows, foreigners or whatever, and they're always going to get some little things wrong. So you got to make sure you go back through and you read it very carefully. But rev.com or Otter AI are very good for recording phone conversations. Rev also has a phone recording app, so you want to take a look at that. All right, so then I said the first step is going through your plan, making sure you have everything on your plan. And in this particular case, they don't even seem to be offering some of the things. The caseworker isn't showing up. You need to be documenting all of those things. And the second step was to prepare to file a petition or a motion for reunification. And then the third step is prepare your proof for that petition for reunification. Rev.com. That's right, DeBarrett. rev.com. Correct. I love it. I use it all the time. Because as you know, I record everything. I have a little, I'm going to show you. Because for some people, this is like $100 or $120, which sounds like a lot of money. It's really not that much when you consider how much good it does for you. But oh my gosh. And I always like leave it on in my purse. So hang on here, let me fix it. Stop. Okay. Okay. So I use these little Olympus recorders. I have probably 3 or 4 or 5 of them, and I keep them with me all the time. I've carried them in the courtroom every time, all the time since 2009. And I know some people say, well, they won't let me record in the proceedings. If you are in Tennessee, you have a statutory right to record your proceedings, and you just need to ask. So if the judge says you can't record it, you just need to ask the judge, then how do I get good documentation of what's occurring here today? Because they write crappy orders, they don't fill things in the orders, they get things wrong, they what I want to call it, they narrate they like put all this prejudicial stuff in their orders, and it's really harmful to your case. And plus you come out of there and you don't know what you're supposed to do next. So record. And if the judge says no, you can't record. So I had a case in Knoxville, Judge Irvin, and I always record. I'm very obvious about it. I lay my recorder on the table in front of me. There's a little red light on it. It's there all the time. So I look at it sometimes to make sure the red light is on. I mean, there is nothing secretive about it. And so Judge Irvin just like yelled at me one day, like, have you been recording? You need to delete that recording. And I'm like looking at him. And then in that particular case, the guardian ad litem actually stood up for me. And he's like, well, Your Honor, she told you she was recording the last time you were here. We were here. He's like, oh, she did. Of course, he liked the guardian ad litem. He didn't like me, but I happen to have a decent relationship with the guardian ad litem. So anyway, he said, okay. Well, I went home, back to my office. I wrote the judge a personal letter, and I said, here's a statute that says that attorneys can record the proceedings, and if you're a pro se litigant, you can also record. So I never got any grief from him again. So there's one of my grandchildren right there in the background. You can see her. That's Yelena right there. So they're having a good time swinging and doing stuff. Oh, yeah, they got some cool stuff here. All right, so the third step is get prepared to file your petition for reunification or for trial home visit, whatever it is in your state. But you, the parents, you've got to be proactive now. I'm finding that these agencies are right now in kind of a bog place in many instances. They're trying to snatch kids, yet they're short of foster homes. And so there's I don't know. I just sense a kind of strange thing, and I always have had the ability to kind of sense the trends that I see, even though maybe I'm only handling 10 or 12 or 15 cases that I'm watching personally going on. I can always sense those trends, and also, of course, I'm aware of the law and the changes in the law that are happening. So, listen, we should have recorded court, Laura. Yes. I'm telling you, you got to record and just ask the judge. Okay, so just tell me, Judge, so do you record? Does the clerk record? Can I get a copy of that? How can I make sure that I have a good record of what is occurring in the courtroom? And you can also just say, you know what, Judge, look, this is brand new to me. I know that you guys do this all the time, but I want to make sure that I can go back and listen to it and make sure that if there's any questions here that I've not properly addressed, that I handle that better the next time, right? So, just go for it. Just be upfront about it. And I know that experience is intimidating, but you've got to start unpeeling the onion, because they're not going to do it for you. Okay, you've got to start peeling that onion. So that's kind of the plan I set up for her, which I'm excited about. So also, just tell you again, was in DC last week. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, came back Wednesday, worked really hard Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Took about 24 hours off, kind of regrouped, did some reading, getting ready to move forward. Looking forward to the political year 2022, because I am you know, I'm looking for candidates. I would like to find some judicial candidates who would run so that we can really take a better look at how this system is running and get some willing judicial candidates to run a better system. Also, I am taking on a project of working with a congressional candidate on a revamping of much of the funding to support families as opposed to destroy them. You know, and that's going to include the Title IV-D, the Title IV-E, the TNAF, some of the other Title X money, because there is so much, I'm missing audio, I'm looking at your notes here, but there is so much just overall with the funding. And I'm just going to tell you, for instance, so I was looking at the entitlement money in Tennessee, and just on adoption assistance money, which is the money that is going out for children who are already adopted, in Tennessee alone, it's $9 million a month. $9 million a month going out under the Adoption and Safe Families Act for adoption assistance. And I pulled the records for like the last 5 years, and there were substantial jumps in that funding from like 3 million to like 5 million to 6 million to 9 million in a very short period of time. So that tells you they're doing a lot of shoving kids into adoption. So but 9 million a month, just think of that. I mean, for 9 million a month, we could establish some pretty awesome rehabilitation facilities, and it's really time. I love for people to be stronger and better people, and even though I'm kind of a hard ass about it, ultimately that's what I want. So I want people to be their best, and I'm quite upfront about it. I mean, I'm very upfront about it. My daughters can tell you that. So, but that's what I want, and I love it. I am so inspired by women who are heroes, who just are survivors and turn their whole life around and become victorious. So that just really inspires me. My spiritual gifts, I'm very well of what they are. They're advocacy, encouragement, and persistence. So I want to encourage everybody out there to continue to fight. Okay, this is it. Fight, 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 fight. Whether you are a grandparent, I'm losing my light already. Let me turn some light on here. Let me see if I can get some. I can't get my light on. Okay, the sun is going behind the trees for me, so I guess I'm gonna have to say goodbye here pretty soon. So fight, fight, fight. Just do everything. Just record everything, document everything. We're going to continue in this battle. All right, I'm losing my light, so I'm going to say goodbye, and I love you all, and keep at it. Share this, pass it around, and we are going to win this for sure. Love y'all. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.